Hello, good evening. You are welcome in the zoology class organized by Jan Vikas Mahasabha and Society of Career Technology. Before starting today's topic, I would like to emphasize you that all living organisms found on this planet, Earth, need energy for performing their work, and that energy is obtained from sun. The solar energy is the only source of energy for this planet. Of course, we can get some energy from atomic energy and some chemosynthetic bacteria also. But the problem is that only chlorophyll molecule of the green plants have the capacity to convert the solar energy into utilizable form of energy in the chemical bond of carbohydrates. Animals don't have this capacity, we don't have that. So the green plants are called producers, whereas the animals, we cannot synthesize a one by simply sitting in the sun. We have to depend on green plants for our food. And the animals are also of two types, herbivore and carnivore. Herbivore which directly utilize the green plant, and the carnivore which actually utilize the flesh of herbivore animals. So there is always an energy flow from sun. The solar energy comes into the green plants. The chlorophyll molecule present in the leaves, green leaves, organizes the photosynthesis. It takes the solar energy, CO2 from atmosphere, water from soil, and synthesize C6H12O6. And then the food manufactured by the chlorophyll is utilized by the herbivore animals, and it is further utilized by the carnivore animals. So there is always an energy flow from sun to the green plant, then from green plant to the herbivore animal, and from herbivore animal to the carnivore animal. Now, I remember that 4 blind persons, when observed an elephant for the first time, one which touched the legs of an elephant visualized that an elephant is like a pillar. Other blind person which touched the abdomen of the elephant visualized that elephant is like a big wall. One blind man, when touched the tail of elephant, he visualized that elephant is like a rope. And nobody, one of them could visualize the complete elephant. And that is the irony of the education. In our education also, first of all, we should consider man as a whole organism. For just simplicity, we have divided the study into different subjects. We talk about zoology, we talk about economics, we talk about commerce, but these things are not separate. Every discipline is related with each other. So in zoology, if we study the external feature of an animal, it is called morphology. If we dissect the animal and observe the shape of alimentary canal, liver and lungs, that internal features is called anatomy. When we talk about functioning of an organism, it is called physiology. And when we talk about chemical reactions of living organisms, it is called biochemistry. And the next deeper level of this biochemistry is molecular biology, when we talk about much intimately about the mechanism of molecular reactions. So most of the reactions in our body are reversible, and they take place in isothermal conditions. Temperature remains constant. In chemistry, what happens? For performing a reaction, we fill up the contents in a test tube and heated it over a burner. But for ourselves, it cannot happen. That for making a tea, we just put a spoon of tea leaves, a spoon of sugar, a quarter cup of milk, and we can sit above the gas burner to make a tea. It is not possible. So all the reactions are reversible in the living system. Reversible in which two molecules A and B combine to form C and D, and at the same time some C and D molecules again start forming A and B. So the reaction takes place in both ways. Then the question arises that if the reaction is reversible, how in our body the reactions take place in one direction only? And it is the focal theme, basic of the biochemistry. There are three laws which control the direction of a chemical reaction in living system. The first is chemical equilibrium, then redox potential, and third, two laws of thermodynamics. So let us discuss each one by one. For chemical equilibrium, suppose A and B form C plus D. If we talk about rate of reaction V1, the forward reaction, V1 will be proportional to active mass of A into active mass of B. And if we open this, V1 becomes a constant K1 active mass of A into active mass of B. Similarly, for the reverse reaction V2, in which C and D molecules combine to form A and B, V2 is proportional to active mass of C and D, or we can say V2 is equal to K2 upon A. Now what happens? After some time, an equilibrium will be established in which the reaction will not stop. The reaction will go on. But as much A and B molecule will combine to form C and D molecule, in the same ratio, some C and D molecule will also combine to form A and B. This is called chemical equilibrium. Then what are the factors which affect this reversibility? Let us see this. Equilibrium has been attained. Then if we add A or B, then what will happen? Some more A and B molecules will react to form C and D. Or other way, if we remove C or D, then what will happen? Once again, some A and B molecule will combine to form C and D molecule. If we just reverse to this, if we remove A or B, then what will happen? Some more C and D molecule will combine to form A and B, and again an equilibrium will be established. Or otherwise, if we add C or D, then also some of the C and D molecule will combine to form A and B. So this is one point, chemical equilibrium, which affects direction of a reversible reaction in living system. Then second point is redox potential. You know, oxidation is when oxygen atom combines with a molecule, then it is oxidation. Otherwise, if hydrogen from a molecule is removed, it is also called dehydrogenation or oxidation. And if there is a loss of electron, it is also called oxidation. In reduction, if hydrogen atom combines with an atom or radical, or oxygen is removed from it, or there is gain of electron, then it is also called reduction. Now what happens? This oxidation and reduction depends upon the presence of electrons in the outermost orbit of the atom. For example, in the periodic table, you know, in the first group elements, sodium, potassium, etc., in the outermost orbit, we have 1 electron, and just inner to it we are having 8 electrons. Now, it is very easy as compared to other elements to lose this electron. So, capacity to oxidize for first group of elements will be much more. If we talk about calcium, magnesium, etc., they have 2 electrons in the outermost orbit. So if there is a solution in which we have magnesium chloride and we add Na, it will be easy, it will combine to form NaCl. Sodium will have much more oxidizing capacity as compared to the calcium, and chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine, they have 7 electrons in the outermost orbit. So for making the octet in the outermost electron, they need only 1 electron to take, and gain of electron is called reduction. So the elements of the 7th group, they have a reducing capacity. For comparing the capacity of different elements to oxidize or reduce, we can compare it with a potential of a standard, maybe hydrogen electrode or platinum electrode or calomel electrode. And if the elements are on the left side of the standard electrode, they have an oxidation potential. Those which are on the right side, they have a reduction potential. So this potential combined together is called redox potential. Now what will happen? This will also control the rate of a chemical reaction. As I just told you, that the elements of first group have much more oxidation capacity, their redox potential is much more as compared to the elements of the second group. It is easier for sodium to act with magnesium chloride to form NaCl, but just reverse action will be less possible. It will be difficult. And in the reactions of glycolysis, Krebs cycle, etc., we can see that there is a gradation in the redox potential of all the reactions. And that is why glucose combines with a phosphate to form glucose 6-phosphate. It is easier. But the reverse reaction from glucose 6-phosphate to glucose formation is difficult. Now, the third principle is laws of thermodynamics. There are 2 laws of thermodynamics. First law is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can change its form. Matter, Dalton's first law also says that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. But Einstein gave the equation E is equal to mc square and said that sometime matter can be broken into energy. Enormous amount of energy comes out because calculating that energy in the mass of substance, c is the velocity of light, and this discovery led to the formation of atom bomb. Second law is that whenever energy goes from one place to the other, for example, in our power supply, electrical energy comes in our houses. If they reach into the ceiling fan, they change into mechanical energy. When they reach into the tube light, they change into light energy. When they reach into the call bell, they change into sound energy. So similarly, later on, although the laws of thermodynamics were not applicable for a closed system only, and living system is an open system. Even then it was found that for open system, in living system also the laws of thermodynamics holds good. The second law says that whenever energy goes from one place to the other, only a fraction of it becomes available to us for performing work, and that is called free energy. The total energy of a system is called enthalpy, and a part of energy goes to universe which is unrecoverable, which is called entropy. It is indicated in the form delta E is equal to delta H minus T delta S. You will ask that what is this entropy? Entropy is a measurement of randomness or disorder of a reaction. Now the question arises, what is the meaning of randomness or disorder? If we talk about a small room in which on a stool a perfume bottle has been kept, and perfume bottles are localized inside the bottle. This is an organized system or ordered arrangement. Or it is also called less random. Random means distributed. And when suppose the perfume bottle falls on the ground, all the perfume molecules come out and they get distributed in all over in the room. Then this arrangement is more random or disordered. So here you can see that molecules have a tendency, they always try to become disordered or more random. When the perfume molecules are located inside a perfume bottle, then it is an ordered arrangement or it is less random. When the perfume bottle breaks, the perfume molecules are distributed all over in the room. It is an arrangement which is disordered or more random. So actually entropy is a measurement of randomness or disorder of a reaction. So let us see how this concept of entropy helps in determining the direction of a chemical reaction in living system. For changing ice into water, there is loss of entropy. So it can go on spontaneously, automatically. But for converting water into ice, there is a gain of entropy. So much more energy is used for changing the water into ice. So in living system also, those reactions in which there is loss of entropy, they will proceed in forward direction. But in the backward direction, when there is a need of entropy, the reaction will be difficult to follow. So these three laws decide the direction of a chemical reaction in living system. Similarly, in physiology also, we talk about digestion, respiration, circulation, excretion. These all are correlated with each other. They are not separate, they are just connected with each other. For example, Suppose we talk about an amoeba. An amoeba needs food. What happens? It is found inside water of a pond. So when food comes in contact of this food, amoeba, it just invaginate and the food vacuole is formed inside and it is digested by the lysosomal enzymes. But in our body, a multicellular organism, the body is made up of many thousands and millions of cells. The body is very large and ultimately the food should be broken down into such smaller pieces which can enter in the cell. For amoeba it is alright that if a food comes in the surrounding water, it can be taken in by the phagocytosis. But for ourselves, if we just sleep in a bathtub and pulse, rice, vegetables, they are mixed in the water, they will not be absorbed by our body. We cannot synthesize a one by simply sitting in the sun. So what should be there? In our body, a system has been derived. A group of cells make a long tube, elongated tube, which is called the alimentary canal. And this alimentary canal, what happens? The large food is broken down into smaller pieces, still smaller pieces, which can be utilized by which can enter into a cell. Now this digested food is absorbed in the surrounding blood vessels, which is present in the wall of alimentary canal. From this blood, they reach into different body cells. They reach into heart, and you know, heart pumps blood to every body part, and from every body part, blood comes back into the heart. So this blood circulation distributes the food absorbed from the alimentary canal to every body cell. Similarly, in respiration also what happens? It has been observed that if an organism is less than 0.5 millimeter size, oxygen can enter directly by diffusion and CO2 can go out and food can be oxidized in the mitochondria of the cell. But in a larger organism, larger than 0.5 millimeter, all the surrounding cells are not in direct touch of the environment. So what happens? A system has been developed in which oxygen comes in through trachea into the lungs, and from the lungs again this oxygen goes into the blood carries this oxygen to every body cell. In every body cell, food is oxidized to liberate carbon dioxide and energy. The carbon dioxide is again brought into the blood and that is left into the lungs alveoli and that it goes out. So here you can see, here also the respiratory system and circulatory system, the blood are connected with each other. So today I just need to emphasize you that all different chapters of physiology, biochemistry are connected with each other, and man is a complete animal. For a doll it is also alright that if you can break a doll into different pieces, legs separate, hands separate, head separate, many times small kids do it. You can do it that you can assemble the head, assemble the legs, assemble the head, and doll can become the full-fledged doll. But in human being you can't do this. That if you can separate all the head separate, hand separate, legs separate, and you again wish to connect them to make a man, it is not possible. And that is why man is different from the non-living or inanimate object. And for that we should try to study man in a complete whole, complete organism in which all systems are connected with each other. Thank you very much.